President Cyril Ramaphosa and U.S. President Donald Trump have met at the White House in Washington, D.C. in a bid to reset and revitalize bilateral relations between the countries. Now, the visit focused specifically on reframing bilateral economic and commercial relations, including the punitive import tariffs introduced by Trump, the Russia and Ukraine war, and the disinformation around genocide claims in South Africa. Now, to further discuss this, I'm joined by Mametlwe Sebei, president of Giwusa. Thank you so much for joining us, Mametlwe.
Pleasure to be here.
So, what are your overall thoughts, of the meeting between President Ramaphosa and Donald Trump?
Well, it was a humiliating groveling that we expected. And I think that for many people, particularly Black working class people who sacrificed blood and their lives in a fight for a right to self-determination, for sovereignty, they would have seen that meeting as a saddest day in our quest and struggle for national liberation, really. Because what did you see there? You have a president representing a country that has been under an assault and insult from an arch-imperialist, racist president of the United States, instead of defending the country vigorously, but also charging them genuinely of aiding and abetting a genocide in Gaza, where the Palestinians are being massacred, with the complicity of this government. You have a person who think, well, you can say, we'll investigate, we'll talk more about that, allowing him to peddle more lies, insult, but also actually bring a delegation that has no mandate from South Africans, many of which entertain these lies, entertain these fabrications, and in many that credibility to them in the world where many people know them to be false.
Okay. Now, Mametlwe, Donald Trump also insisted, on claims that, the discussion centered on allegations of white genocide other than the issue of trade and economic ties. Do you think that this was appropriate?
It is hogwash, right? Firstly, to suggest that white people are facing genocide, there's no basis, in fact. I mean, the fact that you have their representative parties, including unrepentant and racist pro-apartheid parties in this government, not only nullifies that, in fact, it's very shameful, right? These are people that, for the most part, were responsible for oppressions of an African and Black majority in this country, who were not even ever offered, right, special refugee status in America when they were offered, when they were faced with repression, when they were faced with violence, and these were people that were deserving, right? So it shows you what the whole talk about genocide and refugee status, but in fact, the migration, the anti-migration rhetoric on the basis of which he ascended office, what is about? It's not about migrants per se. It's about who is migrating, what is the color of their skin, and in what value chain of exploited labor are they graded. And therefore, you can have white people who are not facing persecution, who in fact are privileged by every measure. They continue to be owning vast part of the economy, of the minerals, of the land, by every measure of employment, access to healthcare, access to wealth, income inequalities. They are privileged by every measure. That they then being offered a refugee status in America at the same time as millions of Americans, immigrants are being deported, right? Because of jobs, because of all sorts of slanderous allegations against them. This shows you it's about racism, it's about imperialism, and Ramaphosa is playing along.
Well, all right, Mametlwe. Thank you so much for your thoughts on this.